Welcome to today's episode of Make Today Mammoth. I am your host, Dallas Hardcastle. I am excited for you to be here. And today we are going to talk about specified knowledge and how this area can absolutely be the space to allow you to get rich. Once again, my name is Dallas Hardcastle. We're excited for you to be here. If you are a first-time listener, we're super excited. And if you are rejoining us again, welcome back. Specified knowledge is the very thing that can allow us to really become very, very wealthy and to really own our time, own our freedom, own our finances. But what does that mean? Well, so many of us are waiting for that permission to be able to finally take the action based on whatever things it is that we're learning. So it's not the fact that people don't have the information, they don't have the knowledge, but they have this fear barrier of going out to begin to do the things that they know they should be going out to do. Here's the catch. The catch is that most of us are busy studying and learning and studying and learning and studying and learning, and we think that information is what is needed, what is required. Unfortunately, so much of this is people just consuming information. They're getting themselves prepared to take the next step. They're getting ready to get ready to get ready, and it just perpetuates and goes on and on and on. So it's not the fact that someone could get started doing something and they could spend 20, 40, 100 hours getting themselves pretty darn good at being able to do that thing. I'm not saying they're going to be experts. They're not going to be mastery after it. But after those first 20, 40, 100 hours of learning that thing, learning the service, figuring out the software, having the conversations, picking up the phone, sending out the emails, whatever that thing is, you're going to have that learned. That most people are unfortunately waiting 1, 2, 3, 5 years just to get those first 20, 40, 60, 80 hours in under their belt. But here's the definition of the specific knowledge, and this is the part that will hopefully get your attention. Specific knowledge means it cannot be taught, but it can be learned. What does that mean? That means that specific knowledge can only be learned through action, through activity. So many people get confused by the fact that they're thinking that by learning and learning and learning, that's the thing that's making them better. That's the thing that's moving them forward. That's the thing that's advancing their life, their career, their fill in the blank. Friends, that was the case decades ago and certainly hundreds of years ago, but it just simply is no longer the case, right? Like it used to be you had to have the money, you had to be able to go to university, you had to be able to have access to this information to be able to be one of the wealthy, one of the people with the degrees, one of the people with the jobs. Friends, we've already transitioned away from that. Look on, if you're watching this on the YouTube, if you're listening to this on the podcast, there are hundreds of millions and or billions of sources of information out there. So now we know the information is all over the place, but what we now need is we need customized, specific information. And what we really need is after I have 5, 10, 20, 50 pieces of this information, I need to have a specialized, specific knowledge of now what to do with it. The only way I get that is from a feedback loop. How do I get into a feedback loop? It's by taking action. The only way I am able to accurately learn specific knowledge is by taking action and then seeing what the result of that action is, course correcting, and then taking my next actions. You've heard these stories, I'm sure, but the number of people that have come to me, that I've known, that I've spoken to over the years, that were preparing, they were getting ready to get ready for sometimes 6 months, sometimes for years. And they had this just ironclad, steadfast, perfectly put together business plan. Everything was ready to go. And then they went out in the first few weeks or the first couple months and essentially just kind of fell flat on their faces because they were mistaking all of this preparation, all of this research, all of this information, all of this bundling of knowledge as being the thing that really was what they needed. And what they needed was the feedback loop. What they needed was to go out and take action on that thing, and then be able to get the result, that feedback loop, to say, oh, okay, that's the result we wanted. Keep doing more of that. Or, oh, no, that kind of surprised us. That wasn't what we wanted. You need to tweak that, change out a little bit. Or, oh my God, that was the opposite of what we thought. That was awful. We need to just rework our entire plan all over the place. These are the things that really happen in everyday business, friends. And I just want you to really understand that, every single day, it's not, gosh, I hope I make it through the day without any mistakes. Every single day, we're going to do 10 new activities, and 5 of them are going to go about as we thought. 5 of them aren't going to go about as we thought. I mean, that's the number. And I mean, some days we get lucky, and sometimes out of the 10 things, 8 of them go as planned and 2 of them don't. And then other days, 9 of them don't go as planned. And then we have one that kind of goes as planned. That's kind of how life and business unfolds before us. But when we don't attach the emotion to this, and we are okay with the fact that the way to learn, the way to grow, the way to evolve, the way to become wealthy, healthy, successful, the way to be able to build ourselves and become the next bigger, better version of ourselves is not simply by just digesting and ingesting new information. It's now to apply that information through action and to figure out what is the actual feedback, the actual result of that action. So then we can begin to move forward. The people that are going to be the most successful, the people who want to earn that big money and whatever that big money is to you, if that's earning 6 figures, if that's earning 7 figures, if that's earning 8 figures, you are going to see one consistent on this almost every single time with almost anybody you speak with. And that's going to be the speed at which they take these actions usually is the thing that dictates how quickly they grow and evolve into these next levels of success, finances, business, etc. So that person that's going to be willing to take 1 or 2 action steps a week is going to grow at one speed. Someone who will do 1 or 2 a day will do another. Someone who will do 10 or 15 a day, it's another one. And it's just that repetition of speed, meaning that if you're doing 2 a week over the course of the year, well, you've taken 100 action steps. If you're doing 10 a day, now you've taken 3,650. 3,650 or 100. The speed at which you can learn is one of the things that allows you to get into momentum. That's why you can have people in a room and you can deliver the message to a group of 40 people and 2 or 3 of them will have done nothing, literally get 0 result. You're going to have some get a little, some get a little bit more, some get a little bit more, and then you're going to have 1 or 2 up here at the top. And it's just ridiculous. Like you can have the person standing on the stage saying, this is how you make $1 million. And you're going to have some that make 0. Heck, you'll probably have some that lose money because not only are they not doing anything with it, but they're even doing the wrong thing, the opposite of what you're recommending to do, because they're like, I don't think that's the thing. Let's just do the opposite thing. And then you're going to have some that make a little bit more, and then you're going to have some that make over $1 million. Is that biggest lever probably is hyper execution. They are hyper executors. They're taking action. And when you take action, now you have that specific knowledge that the people who they can watch 100 videos, see 100 things, go to 100 trainings, that webinar, that conference, that speaker, that fill in the blank. But if they never taken the action, they now don't possess that specific knowledge like that person who just went out for the next 30 days or 100 days. It took 100, 500 activities. And now all of a sudden they've got all of that feedback. They've got all of those results. They've done all of that course correcting, and they've quickly made their way through and toward their goal. So it just makes a huge thing. I want to leave you with this because this, to me, is the very evidence. And you know, the whole school thing is a whole another conversation and discussion, and won't get into it right here. But the other day I was in the gym and I met this kid, you know, and he's a good kid and smart, and he's in there working out. And he asked me what I do, and I mentioned to him, I said, oh, I own some businesses. And he's like, oh, cool. And I'm like, what about you? He goes, oh, I'm in school right now. I'm going to become a software engineer. I'm like, oh, what do you want to do with that? He goes, I want to be rich. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So he tied software, of course, software, which is a good tie. That part's accurate. He's like, I want to be able to build these softwares and build these big things and, and get rich. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I, had a couple ideas. I'm like, well, if you can do this or partner with this kind of a person or this, then, you can go ahead and you can build this thing and grow it, and hey, you could really do some amazing things pretty cool. And I could hear I could see he was kind of like, tuning out, and he's like, well, that's okay, I don't really need to think about that stuff right now, I got 6 years. And I was like, oh, and it was literally just like, hit me in the chest. He's going to be in school for 6 years. So 6 years of learning, and whatever that's going to be, $100, $150, $200,000 in income, and meanwhile there's not going to be any actions, meaning that he's not going to be out in the marketplace writing, collaborating, learning, deploying, going back and revisiting, retooling, reassessing, getting into more conversations with more clients, overcoming more obstacles, more barriers, building better systems, better softwares. None of that's going to be happening. And that's the difference. Is in 6 years, he will have amassed an enormous amount of information from an enormous amount of professors and teachers and, TAs and on, people who can write softwares. But guess what? If they were really great at writing the softwares and being a business owner and deploying these things and making tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, they wouldn't be teaching at university for $80,000 or $90,000 a year. They'd be out doing it, right? So the fact that, 6 years and maybe $150,000 in debt to then begin to get to go out to take the action to get into the feedback loop to really be able to really hone the skill, that to me is the difference. So making sure that we're not missing anything. We got all of our stuff in here. So, friends, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, you want to leave them below, by all means, feel free. If you are a coach or a consultant who is looking to be able to grow a business and you are looking to be able to learn how you can grow your sales, feel free to go over to maketodaymammoth.com and check out and see what we have going on over there. And maybe that will be a video over there that can help show you the 5 things that allow us to really be able to help coaches and consultants to be able to grow their sales extremely rapidly and actually double their sales in a very short period of time. Again, friends, my name is Dallas Hardcastle. I appreciate you joining us today. Make today just mammoth, my friends, and I will look forward to speaking with you again soon. Take care.